Night of excitement and a night of firsts. 1.2 billion Catholics rejoice as the 266th Pope is chosen. And what a surprising choice it really was. Jorge Mario Bergoglio is his name. He's the former Archbishop of Buenos Aires. He's the first pontiff from the Americas, first Jesuit Pope, first non-European in almost 1,300 years. He's also the first Francis. So tonight we go inside this historic development for the faith. 7:06 p.m. Rome time, white smoke. And as that smoke rose and billowed into the night air, St. Peter's Square erupted. It was a moment of pure joy for them, of profound prayer, of the chance to witness history. Soon the square was packed with more than 100,000 rain-soaked people, their eyes turned upward in anticipation to the red-draped windows of the Loggia of St. Peter's, everyone waiting to see the new pope. The Vatican band marched into cheers, followed by the Swiss Guards, the Pope's personal troop. And then French Cardinal Torrens stepped out to pronounce the ancient words.
Habemus Papam.
We have a pope, but who?
Sancte Romani Ecclesiae Cardinalem Bergoglio.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Argentina waited in the wings, Vatican TV capturing the moments before he greeted the world under his new name. Pope Francis, the first of that name. A Latin American, where 40% of the world's Catholics now live. And back home in Argentina, ecstatic news broadcasts
Para mí, emocionante.
proclaimed the history in this moment. El Papa es Argentino.
There's so much new about this. It's a Latin American for the first time. It's a Jesuit for the first time. He's taken the name of Saint Francis for the first time, which is clearly a signal that he wants to show a different face of the church. Face of the poor.
He spoke softly, simply in Italian, addressing the crowd and the world as brothers and sisters. His first act as Pope
Padre nostro,
was to pray the Lord's Prayer, the Hail Mary, the Gloria.
Venga il tuo regno, ma liberaci dal male.
When you look at that piazza and you look around the world at the celebrations going around the world, you have to realize it's a moment of an adoption. 1 billion Catholics have just been adopted by a new spiritual father.
It is such a monumental and a grand scene. The Pope has such power. But as if to comment on all that, Pope Francis then did something popes don't do.
Facciamo in silenzio.
Before giving his blessing, he asked for theirs, for ours, and bowed in silence.
He's staking out new ground. He's announcing that he's going to do things differently.
He is 76 years old, the son of Italian immigrants to Argentina, who trained as a chemist and danced the tango before discovering his call to the priesthood. He is a Jesuit, the religious order that's played such a powerful and controversial role in the church, at times drifting too far to the left for the Vatican, that conventional Catholic wisdom had it that no Jesuit would ever become pope.
I think it's safe to say that the Jesuits are no longer in the doghouse with the Vatican. The Jesuits are a religious order founded in 1540 by St. Ignatius Loyola, and as a Jesuit, the new Pope Francis will have been living vows of poverty, chastity, obedience, and the spirituality of finding God in all things.
As Archbishop of Buenos Aires, Bergoglio struck a different profile from the usual princes of the church, living simply, close to the people, championing the rights of the poor and blasting the privileged.
He doesn't have a driver and a car. He takes public transportation. He doesn't live in a palace, as most residential archbishops do. He lives in a simple apartment. He cooks his own meals.
And he chose the name Francis to reflect that commitment to simplicity, the name of one of the most revolutionary figures in all of Christianity, St. Francis of Assisi, who lived a life of radical love for the poor, for the planet.
I've always been surprised that no pope has chosen Francis. It really says poverty, simplicity, working with the poor. And I think that's what the church is really about, particularly in the developing world and the Southern Hemisphere. So it's a reminder of Christ's life of poverty. And just by the choice of name, he has reminded us all of that.
Can a pope live simply?
That will be very interesting to find out. One of the problems of the church's credibility is that almost everything a pope does is framed in this kind of gilt frame of beauty and art and opulence. And it will be interesting to see if this pope does things differently.
But Pope Francis is also a staunch traditionalist. He's compared abortion to a death sentence and called gay marriage destructive of God's plan. But for the faithful in St. Peter's Square tonight, including many Americans, this was about the future, about renewal.
I feel like, in a way, a religious inauguration, that feeling of hope and a new beginning, a page turning.
This is a great time to be Catholic.
Yeah. Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York told reporters there were high spirits inside the Vatican, too.
We toasted him, and then he toasted us, and he simply said, "May God forgive you."
In the end, high above them all in the loggia of St. Peter's tonight, this shy man of Latin America gave the traditional papal blessing, Urbi et Orbi, to the city and the world.
Et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
And then,
buonanotte e buon riposo.
He said a simple goodnight and slipped back into his new home, his new and very different life.